Hey, good morning. Bona Diminata
Mhm.
and Boreta. Welcome to That's Life with Evolution. I am your host, Evolution, and I have a very special guest today. I have Bobby Fran. How you doing, Bobby?
All right, man. What's happening, E? How you doing, buddy?
Doing great, man. Glad to have you on the show this morning. We were expecting Jukebox, but something came up, so we'll catch up with him later.
Yeah.
Hope everything works out great for you today, Jukebox. But while I have you here, Bobby, for the people who don't know who you are and what you do, can you let us know who you are and what you do?
Well, I'm currently full-time podcasting. I've kind of changed my life to podcasting after working with regular jobs for many years, and I'm
Mhm.
full-time dedicated. I have about 3 different podcasts I do. I do a show on Mondays called BF Live, and I'm about positivity. So I like to get the week started off on a positive note. So I do that from about 12 East to 3 or so, depending on how the show's going. And on
Mhm.
Wednesdays and Fridays, we do like a kind of a little video show on the Shuli network on YouTube. It's called Replayables, and we just watch
Okay.
all these crazy viral videos, and we'll sit around and drink and do our kind of thing, and kind
Uh,
of have like a little video party with it, and I'll have a good time with the chat and all. And on
mhm.
Fridays, I do like a sports show called the Sports Heads with my buddy Andrew. So I'm into a couple different podcasts, and some are monetized, some aren't. But yeah, I'm trying to make a go at this in a big way.
Man, it sounds great. And I've heard of the Shuley Network. So, yeah, man, they're doing pretty good over there.
Hmm.
So, congratulations to you on all that, man. And
Thank you,
that's great, man. Hope you have a lot of success with that.
thank you.
Kind of doing the same thing as me. So I hope we all are successful.
Yeah, well, I think that's what you and me and Jukebox have in common is that we're kind of all grinding at this and kind of we all try to help each other out and do each other's shows and all. But yeah, I like hanging out with him too because we kind of relate and talk about the same things, how we grinded this and all, and we all seem to enjoy it on the same level.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So hopefully everything goes well and continues well because so far so good, man.
Yes.
Like I was talking to you before the show, things are taking off pretty quick for me. So no harm there, and not mad at
Yeah.
that one bit.
Nah, it's good. It's growing and it's a fun thing. And like you said, it's my first time meeting you, and this is a great
Mhm.
opportunity, a great way to get out and meet people. Or not get out, or I call it get out. Get out digitally and meet people.
Right.
But I'm really, you sit here in your own little box in your own little cube or wherever you do the show from, and you don't
Mhm.
always think about it. But it's neat when somebody says, "I'm in Australia watching you," or "I'm in Ireland watching you," and you're like, "Wow, this is much different than television. This is like different level stuff."
Absolutely, man. And I love it as well. In fact, I even had somebody on here from Ireland not too long ago. So I
Mm,
definitely can relate to what you're talking about. So, with all that being said,
okay.
let's get into the topic of the day.
Yeah, what we got?
Uh, Interesting topic, unlocking the code of silence between man and woman.
Mm.
This can go just about any direction.
Yeah,
and hopefully
absolutely.
and hopefully our listeners will be patient with us because it might get a little rocky, but the whole point is to get it rocky so we can smooth it out later.
Yeah.
Uh, so, and how we do on That's Life with Evolution, we get things rolling with Leia's question because that gets our conversation headed in the right direction. We'll get into that right now.
Okay.
Usually we have like one Leia's question or maybe two, but I'm thinking because of the topic today, she was firing off questions left and right.
Oh
So
Lord. Oh Lord. You gonna try to figure out something?
yeah. So the first question we'll get into that from Leia. It's how is the listening process different from women and men? Do you have any thoughts on that so far, Bob?
Well, my thing is, I guess if we're talking about relations and communicating with women, I've been married for a while. So,
Mhm.
my thing is, I like to get to a point quick with an economy of words, and sometimes there can be extra words that when my wife or my spouse is talking, that it's like, okay, I got the point, and you kind of want to get away. So yeah, we do. I think I just want to get to the point quicker, and it seems like sometimes she really wants to explain the point quicker.
Man, if that ain't right on point, because guess what my response is? Men are straight to the point.
There you go. That's what it is, man. It's like, I have no problem like trying to communicate and listen to her, but sometimes it's like when we're talking about solving a problem and I just trying to get to the essence of the problem. Like, what is the problem? And maybe I'll process that stuff later is kind of how my mind works. And I don't know how other guys work, but I just want the problem now, the essence of the problem, and we'll deal with kind of all that other stuff later is kind of how I compartmentalize stuff.
Absolutely. And then further in my response to say women lead up with an angle and then they lure you into a different direction.
That can be true. Or there's always second question or a trap question or something like that. Yeah. So if you will, that's what we call it, a trap question. But
absolutely. So now this is where I kind of start twisting things so I can open people's minds. After I say that, because I don't want anybody to get upset or irritated or emotionally wound up, I have to get into this. The dialect is different between men and women.
Okay.
Let's see here. And the next Leah's question is, what is the difference in how men express themselves versus how women express themselves? What you got for that?
Well, I mean, my whole thing is sometimes I like to deal with problems with simplicity. Like I'm dealing with a household problem, and so I need to have a positive attitude. So I need to approach things from a positive manner to get a positive result. But sometimes so I'll fill me with maybe the negative, the bad sides of things, and to me that's non-motivating. So I kind of have to like put that to the side and kind of just let her say what she's going to say, and then try to process it for myself. I don't know if that's the best answer and all, but I'm just trying to narrow down on it.
No, that's a great answer because it's really all lining up with where I'm trying to go with this. So that's perfect. Right. And my take on that is men express with logic and facts. Women express with emotion and take things personal. And again, this is the dialect that is different between us and them. Do you have anything to elaborate on that as far as us being logical or factual and then being emotional and taking things personal?
I mean, other than just to expand on what you said, I think you got it right on, is that, like we talked about, that I just want to get to the problem, but they want to express how they feel about the problem. You know, I had to go, I'm dealing with, like I said, the household issue I'm dealing with. I had to go to the store. And so as I'm going out the door yesterday, she says to me, well, kind of in a sarcastic way, well, good luck with that. I don't think you're going to, here's my opinion about how this is going to go. And I said, well, thank you for your opinion about how this is going to go. And it turned out that I got me one little positive win, because normally 9 times out of 10, she's kind of right about that when she kind of hits me on a certain angle. But this time I happened to persevere, and I came through in a way that she didn't expect. I kind of surprised her and all. So, and because I think I went into it with my positive attitude, I didn't let her negativity, come into it. And I went on positive, stayed on my path, and I got a positive result. So.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm glad you used the term negative, because that's going to pop up later. We're rolling right along here.
Yes.
So question number 3 from Leah is, let's see, what happens to the communication over time with men and women? What do you think about that?
Well, if you're with a spouse, like I've been with my spouse a long time too, it's funny how sometimes there is a form of nonverbal communication. There's just like a ebb and flow to the relationship, and I think you operate in a way that I'm going to get this response, so you kind of pre-operate in a certain way based on the responses you're going to get. And sometimes I got to get myself out of that groove and go, okay, well, just because I think she's going to respond this way, she might not. But yeah, sometimes you fall into a non-communication groove of just how you guys flow in and out of life on a day-to-day basis, how you handle things.
Man, this is going perfectly where I wanted to go.
We must both been in relationships for a long time, because we're both feeling the same things, right?
Absolutely, man. That's the connection that men have that women don't, which is interesting. It's kind of like you're playing tennis back and forth with words, emotions, and all that other stuff.
Well, it's funny, if I can expand real quick.
Yeah.
Like, of course, my point just left my brain as fast as it came. Go ahead and go on with your point. I'm sorry, man. I'll try to get back to it.
I did say tennis back and forth, so maybe that'll help you trigger your thought.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
So I have 5 things in here, which over time show how communication separates or changes. The first one is they or we are dealing with stress behind the positions or the roles, and I call it the code that we are dealing with. So basically, what I mean by that is, women have different stresses and things that they deal with from their perspective of being a wife or a significant other. Just like men have different stresses that we deal with in our role as being a husband, a significant other, father, whatever. What is your take on that?
Do you feel that some one spouse's stresses are more important than the others, or maybe focused on than the other? Maybe sometimes that can be a thing. Like, well, because I don't think you ever win that battle. I think that's a mistake a lot of couples make, is thinking that, well, my stresses are, I do this much. Well, I do this much. Well, my stress, I have a right to be more stressed than you. Or really, it's not your spouse's fault that you're stressed. You shouldn't take that you guys have obligations or stress out on each other. You should both realize that you have your kind of stress and the other person has their kind of stress. Maybe one isn't greater than the other, and you should have try to have compassion for each other and try not to out stress each other or try to win that I do more than you competition.
This is lining up better than I thought it was, because you already used one of the words that triggers later, which is negative, and then you just hit a second one, which is win.
I've been married for a minute now. I know a little bit.
Yeah, man, this is working out perfect. So I think you're accurate in everything you just said, no doubt, because that's how people tend to look at it, or that's how people have been looking at it in the past, and usually. So what we're trying to do here is take them around a little corner, and then we're going to hit another avenue here in a second. But my second response to that, what happens in communication over time is they develop different points of view. You got any experience or stories or interesting takes on that?
Well, no, it's just, I guess it's like you said, it's based on their stresses and what you do. And sometimes I have to stop and figure out that's part of the game, I'll call it, if you will, is that really realizing and knowing when your spouse or your significant other is stressed, and knowing kind of when to say something and when not to say something. Sometimes I think people are just full blast go 100% all the time, but when you have a spouse, and I'll talk about myself, because sometimes I need to compartmentalize stuff. Like, if I'm really highly stressed, I really don't receive you well if you come at me with a problem. So it's kind of, sometimes it's really in just all about how you approach a problem.
Exactly. All about how you approach the problem. My third response to that is the struggle with miscommunication is a reason that the conversation ends up the way it does over time. So
yeah, it's usually the things that we don't say, and we don't let each other know about the stresses, and so you'll make a statement and you might get a harsh result and you don't really know why, but when you go back and reflect on it, you're like, oh, she probably felt a certain way when I said that. So.
And in some cases you really don't know what she's thinking, because either she's not saying it, or she's got all these many questions in her own head that she's asking herself, and which takes it a whole nother direction, because all her thoughts don't even line up with what you were thinking or what you were meaning. So that's what I mean by miscommunication, because excuse me.
And that's why we're here, trying to figure all this great mystery out.
Absolutely. So that's why miscommunication usually happens, because people are asking themselves questions or asking someone else a question about something they should be asking the person that they need to be asking that question to.
So you understand why you get the response you get out of the person.
Yes. Exactly. So that's that space in the middle that we're trying to close that gap today, because of how people have been doing things, excuse me, or how they've been trying to understand things, and they've been way out because either they were too logic or too emotional to understand what's actually going on. The fifth thing that I have on that is, like I've been talking before, they speak a different dialect. So
I like a lot of people say language. You like dialect. You like this. I don't even understand what they're saying. I have no idea.
Exactly. And that's the best way I could put it when I was analyzing this and coming up with all the research and trying to figure it out. and that's the best way I can put it to try to keep people from going off the edge or exploding and getting all emotional. And it's a male dialect and it's a female dialect. You know, women understand each other. Like, you know, they can finish each other's sentences. They can just say something and really not even get to all the words out. And they're all like, yeah, girl. You know how they do that. And guys are the same way.
Well,
man,
you
go ahead,
you
go
talk
ahead.
about that, and we talk about some of the nonverbal communication we have between mates. Now, one of my contention points sometimes is that sometimes my wife is a very beautiful, intelligent woman. I'm very lucky and blessed, and so sometimes I'll have a basic conversation with her with the economy of words that I like to do, and she will like to take what I said and convert it to her non-economy of words. So I'm like, wait a minute, I already had this down. You just said the same thing I said with 100 more words than I used, and we're both agreeing and saying the same shit, but I got to sit here and be aggravated waiting for you to convert it to your language. So sometimes that'll
Because your
happen.
response takes what, 10 seconds, and hers takes 10 minutes.
Well, this is how I feel about it. Well, how you going to do this like that? And then whenever you do this, what are you going to do about that? And then if you do that, what are you going to do about this? And I'm like, I already got that all taken care of. You know, I already thought it out, but I got to re-explain it to her in her language, in her dialect, like you said.
Yep. Because women have at least 10 questions for your one comment, and they go all the way around the block.
Yep.
We just,
and they
just go straight there.
Yeah, and they go, oh, okay then. I guess that's okay then. All right.
Yep. And then Leia's last question here, I believe that's her last question. Like you said earlier, who wins? You know, apparently for women, it's important to win in the communication or whatever the situation.
I'm sure there's men out there that it's important to too, and I think that's where the rub comes. And to me, winning is having the relationship win. You know, when we had children, I wanted the children to win the relationship, and you got to put yourself to the side. So you know, that's why I say you can't have that competition about, well, my stresses are greater than yours. I went out to work today and I did this. Well, I did this, all this hard labor stuff, and trying to compare those two things, it's just never going to work. And you shouldn't compete against each other like that. You should realize that she has her stresses on her level of what she does. You have your great stresses on what your level of what you do. Respect each other and honor that that's just going to happen, and don't take it out on each other, and don't try to make it a who wins the battle kind of thing.
Absolutely, because it's really not about who wins. Excuse me. We all have our place in our area where we have to cover and sit. We basically are working together, and the best way I could explain that is yin and yang. And a lot of people don't think about this, but this is why I bring this up. Yin is described as a negative, dark, or feminine type of force that's in nature. And I know I got a lot of women's attention if they're listening now or later. They're sitting on the edge of their seat, getting ready to attack.
What are you saying about me?
Yep. They're right there, and that's where exactly where I want them. And just understand, you know, that this is not, you know, talking about you or accusing you or belittling you. This is about where you are emotionally when we're having a conversation. You know, again, this is about the dialect. And yang is more like positive, bright, and masculine. You know, I know they're like ready to go now because they're like, wait a minute, you know. But this is literally how this is described. And if you know about yin and yang, you know, there's a symbol, this design, and the way that works is one pushes,
right,
and
it's
one pulls.
It's interconnected, yes.
One pushes and one pulls. They work together, and that's really the relationship between men and women. You know, there's there's no straight up and down. There's no. There's a force that we work together on and interact. And to further explain that is, as far as yin and yang is concerned, or men and women, their interaction is thought to maintain the harmony of the universe to influence everything within it. Let me say that again. Their interaction is thought to maintain the harmony of the universe to influence everything within it. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, they do influence our personal universes and all. You know, there's a lot of times there's many. My wife is I find my wife and many of our women very wise, and I have a theory that women live longer because they're smarter and they do the right things that men don't, like go
Mhm,
to the doctor and things like this. So
mhm.
I try to. I'm like, I know why these women live longer. I'm going to listen to some of this stuff. So I'm trying to take another approach and kind of heed some of her advice too, and not just be well, because go against it just because my wife said it, because it's not manly or it's not what I would do. I'm like, I've had to open my mind and go, no, it makes sense to go to doctor's visits and do some of these things rather than resist some of these things that she tries to do to help us that maybe I wouldn't otherwise do.
Absolutely, man. And I'm gonna add to that because women are always doing things like getting their nails done, manicures, getting their and pedicures,
Hmm.
getting their feet done. And I had the opportunity to do that one time when I was on vacation.
Yeah.
And man, I see why they do those things. They make you
Hmm.
feel great. I mean, it's really amazing how, because most of your nerves are in your feet anyway, or they go down to your feet.
Okay.
And guys, women today, everybody are on their feet most of the time if they don't have a
Hmm.
sit down job. So those feet get tight, they get sore, they get tension all locked up, and then you get something like a pedicure, and you're like, holy mother!
So that
Are they?
goes, yeah, that goes along with it. That's kind of like you've heeded something that maybe a typical man in the past wouldn't do, but maybe you
Mm-hmm,
heeded some of what she said. You respected it. You took in the information, and you
mm-hmm.
kind of learned and you evolved from it. It sounds like
Absolutely, and it actually feels like it's adding years to your life because you feel so great after you
that's
have
really
that
good.
experience. I don't know if you ever had anything like that before, but I tell you what,
I
uh,
have not, but I understand. You know, I remember at the first hearings of this was like some of the NFL wide receivers having this done because they
yeah,
were looking for ways to reinvigorate their feet. And Jerry Rice comes to mind. He would talk about getting like pedicures and taking ballet lessons, like doing things that were out of the male realm to try
absolutely.
to enhance himself. And I think that's the best thing we can do is try to maybe don't just block off everything the other
Hmm.
sex says, kind of be
Hmm.
open to it and go, wait, there's wisdom. There's women. There's reason that women are happy about those things. There's reason that women might live a little longer than men because maybe they apply some common sense that we don't. And maybe if we apply some of the common sense and maybe they apply some of our common sense to some of the stuff they do, that's where
Hmm.
the yin and the yang hopefully work together.
Absolutely. So now we're trying to bridge that gap a little bit. So I'm gonna back up just a second, um, where I said that their interaction is thought to maintain the harmony of the
Hmm.
universe and influence everything within. If that is the case, so why are we letting everything in the universe influence us?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I kind of deal with this my personally with it's very easy to be mentally manipulated by the media and watching things like that. And I
Mhm,
think if you just fall into it without questioning it, you might fall into some of the pitfalls of this and maybe feel every emotion of a certain show or something or be led a certain way. And at some point in my life, I had to kind of grab a hold of my own emotions and go, I'm going to decide how I'm going to be led. I'm not going to let other things kind of decide how I feel about life.
Absolutely. Great response, man. Great response. So I'm gonna kind of shift just slightly, and I'm gonna go here. Um, Being a woman is a fantastic thing, and when a man likes, admires, or even loves a woman, he would do just about anything for her. On the flip side, when a woman likes a man, she'll play hard to get.
Hmm. Well,
Again, a different dialect. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think, but even there's all types out there. I mean, there can be like aggressive women as well, you know. I mean,
Mhm.
but yeah, there. I guess they're, I guess it just, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to expand on that particular question, but there
Well,
are.
yeah, you can think about it for a second. I'll come back to you. Um, so, like you said, depending on the individual, because sometimes the roles are reversed. Sometimes the guy is the stay at home with the kids
Mhm.
person, and then the girl, woman, whoever, whatever, is the person who goes out and works and gets it going. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And takes care of everything financially. Uh, so depending on how things go, and even if you are the breadwinner and you're the guy, there's times where that role may switch during,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, how do you
I'm,
feel? We seem to be of similar generations. How do you feel that, I think in our lifetimes, these gender roles have really flipped. I probably when you and I were younger, it was always the man that went out and the breadwinner and this, that, and the other. But then
mhm,
got to be in the 80s or early 80s, women started getting their groove, feeling
mhm,
and started getting out in the workforce in a big way. And now it's
mhm.
kind of flipped. And you do see a lot of these stay at home dads and things like that. Like, what is your take on that? Do you feel that it takes away from a man's masculinity to do that? Or do you feel that equal time is equally fair?
Not only is equal time equally fair, but it actually adds to your masculinity. And what I mean by that is it broadens your scope of what you think you can do compared to what you end up knowing what you can do. Um, so I've been fortunate to be on, I think, all different sides.
Mm-hmm.
I came up in a time, like you said, where men were the most providers for the family,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was involved with that shift where both me and my uh,
Yeah.
the the person I was with at the time,
Mm-hmm.
excuse me, we were both working,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was a time where I got injured and I was off for like 8 months. And most of that strain financially came on my partner at the time, my ex-wife. Uh, but even then, I was a supported person by taking care of the kids at home, and also utilizing the resources that I had from working
Mm-hmm.
to cover those little gaps that she couldn't cover. So it was more of a, my efforts were still the same,
Mm-hmm.
but they were just from a different aspect of where I had to sit at that time. I was out for 8 months, so I'm pulling from my resources, like getting
Mm-hmm.
little pieces of change from this particular benefit,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
they all added up to keep us going. So yeah, I definitely can understand that from all different angles. Most people, if they haven't done all that, they really don't or can't understand that. Uh,
I'm
they might.
currently in the middle of that kind of a change like that too. You asked me
Mhm,
before the show. I've been doing podcasting for about 2.5 years now, and
mhm.
for all my life, or a lot of my life, I've had people tell me you should do something with your voice, or you should do
Yeah,
this. And
yeah.
then I've talked with other people, and so finally, when my kids are of an older age now, they're kind of college age and on. Moving on and things, so it seemed like the right time in my life to kind of make this shift in my life, and I had to kind of present this to her. I'm like, look, you always know I've had this ability, or she's even said you should go out and do radio or do
Yeah,
something, try to do
absolutely.
something like that. And so I was brush it off, brush it off. I brushed it off for 33 years, bro. And then
Wow.
finally I'm like, you know what? My kids are of a certain age, and the clock's ticking, bro. So I'm like, I gotta really, I had to like really force a full life change in my life and kind of sell it to her. And it wasn't an easy sell. And some
Mhm.
days it still isn't an easy sell. But yeah, I'm kind of living in the middle of the shift we were just talking about.
Absolutely, man. And I think we must be around the same time frame, because I think we're both uh, making those type of shifts
Mm-hmm.
around the same time. So
Mm-hmm.
it has a lot to do with society. It has a lot to do with technology, um, and it has a lot to do with where things are and where they're going to go.
Yep.
But we're flowing right through that, and we're trying to capitalize on those moments. And
Yeah.
so far, so good, right?
Yes. Yes.
Uh, um, so somewhere along the line, we forgot the code and the purpose of the code. Uh, and I mean that because when we're in certain situations or scenarios, or even when we were younger, um, we had things that we understood, and we responded a certain way, and there was a togetherness, so to speak. Um, and now it seems like when women want to see something or want you to see their point of view, uh, and they're wanting us to see their point of view, they're kind of missing our point of view.
Yeah, and I think we're all kind of guilty of that. It goes back
Mhm.
to because we're all just our human nature. We want to feel we have the biggest pity party for ourselves. We want to feel like we do the most. We're the best. It's all on us and all that stuff. So that's where I think that's where you gotta stand away from yourself and go. It's not always about me. It's about a balance. It's about a relationship.
Absolutely, you use balance. You're using another one of my words.
Mhm. I didn't
We're
get your
rolling.
script. I swear.
You're rolling right along here. This is perfect. So let me give some examples here, and try to explain what I meant by when women want us to see their point, they're kind of missing our point, or vice versa.
Okay.
A woman can look at a flower and that's all she sees, because that's where her focus is, on the flower, on the beauty of the flower, on the way the flower smells. But when a guy looks out, he not only sees that flower, he sees the bushes next to it, the field that it's in, all the landmass that's around it, the skies, the stars, pretty much everything. That's our view. That's our language. You know what I'm saying? When we look at things, we see everything. When they look at things, they see what they're focusing on. So I'm saying this to try to get your mind in the place that mine is,
Okay.
to where I can help everybody bridge that gap a little bit closer. So that's that dialect that I'm talking about. Even though, and this is interesting, right? So even though a woman's focus when they look at something is sharp, when they talk about it, it's broad.
Yes, it's very detail oriented. They'll tell you everything about that one thing that they focused on. Yes.
Absolutely. And then for us, it's the reverse. So when we look at things, we see everything, but our response is dead, boom, right on target. So it's that yin and yang thing that I was talking about. You know what I'm saying? So
And I think that's why when a woman is very good at being, one is good at being the other, the woman is the yin and the man is the yang. That's what, I mean, it's kind of stereotypical and corny, or cliche, but that is where the true balance come in. It's not about trying to have a woman understand you so much that she acts like you, or having a woman wanting you to understand her so much that you starting to act like her. Yeah, you have to understand it, but you still have to be yourself and act on your own instincts.
Right. So I'm thinking what I'm bringing to the stage right now is ways that people just usually don't ever look at that. Could you agree?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So this is my question.
Okay. All right. This is your question. These questions.
What exactly is the code that I'm talking about? And what I mentioned earlier is, there were times where we understood the code. Because even babies understand the code, even to this day. And I want to bring to the table something I call the popsicle manipulation.
All right, I gotta hear this.
Everybody's on the edge of their seat. Now I got to set this up like this. First, you have to understand my theory of 0 to 60. When it comes to patience, usually fathers, their patience goes from 0 to 60 in 0.5 seconds. and mothers, usually, their patience is 20.5 seconds. So you like that, huh? So now that I've said all this, let's interject a child. Let's just say this scenario happens. A child goes up to mom, 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 mom,
Oh, yeah.
mom, 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 mom. What? Can I have a popsicle? No, it'll ruin your dinner. And the child looks at mom like, okay. So the child goes to dad. Dad's in his den watching TV, just relaxing, while mom's doing whatever she's doing. Crawls up on dad's lap, snuggles in.
Oh, yeah.
Dad, wouldn't you like a popsicle? Dad's like, you know what? That does sound pretty good. And then the child's like, can I have a popsicle too? And dad's like, sure. And then we'll fast forward to the next scene where mom comes in and sees dad and the child getting down on these popsicles.
The kids work you.
And then mom, of course, gets upset because of what the conversation she has with the child. But not only for that, she's upset with the dad because he allowed it to happen. But not only for that, this is the angle that we always seem to forget. The whole time, it was mom who really wanted the popsicle. So
Right,
when
but
we
she was
fast
trying to do what's right for the child in the situation and be the disciplinarian. But another thing that you, on the way that you presented, that was kind of interesting too, and this is how it happens, is that they will go mom, 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 and they'll bug the crap out of mom, but they know they got to play dad different. So what did you say? They go up in their lap. Now, what if you tried that little method on mom? You know, mom might have said, "Don't try to play that shit on me. I know you just want a popsicle, and you just being nice to me for a popsicle." You know, so you got to know what method works on what person. You know, the woman might say, "Well, you were all sweet and nice to dad, and you bugged the shit out of me." But yeah, the women ain't gonna let themselves get worked over like the dads are going to.
Absolutely, man. And that's exactly my point. So when you fast forward to the end of that scenario that I just said, they're all enjoying a popsicle.
They were all, yeah, they all, right. And so, right.
So yeah, man, that's the code. You know, we just have to remember how to understand each other, and relate to each other, communicate to each other, and kind of almost get out of our own way to close that gap, so that we can communicate like we're supposed to, or need to, or should, and just
and look how
move
children
forward.
pick up on that. Children pick up on that at a young age. They know that if I do this a certain way, I will get this out of this person. Like, we figured that out kind of genetically, or just by osmosis, or being around our parents in life pretty quickly at a young age. And they will work you and try to manipulate you. Like,
Heck
I know
yeah.
how to get what I want. You know, that's something that we figure out on a base level at a very young age.
Absolutely. And let's go even further back to an infant. Infants know how to cry to get what they want.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean,
Absolutely.
it starts it instantly. You know, they pick that up real fast. You know, if they want something, they use all they got. They cry.
Yeah.
And we respond to that. You know, it's either a hungry cry, or a sleepy cry, or they need a diaper change cry, you know.
And I think it's funny. I think I try to put bigger thoughts around this, and I try to think, like, I think we kind of come in the world miserable because, yeah, a child, you know, from that early age, a child knows before they know anything, they know that they're not happy about something. It's not that we know that we're happy about something, but we automatically at an infant level acknowledge dissatisfaction. And so I'm always fascinated by that. And then I try to say, well, how does that dissatisfaction, how does that affect my life at my current age, you know? Because I think we're kind of always that person.
Bingo. And you took me right to my next segment. So
all right, man.
So here are some ways that we are divided. And this is, after my thinking, I'm very creative. So this is what I came up with. Here we go. Let's start with the women. Labor pains. Now, they all can know, especially if they had a child, the perfect way to describe labor pains.
Right.
And we all have probably at some point be like, well, you can handle having a baby, this, that, and the other. We're not designed to have a baby, for one, you know?
Right.
So we could really not possibly actually know what it feels like.
Yeah, and sometimes people really want to blame each other for what they can and can't feel. Like, it's not the man's fault that we weren't genetically made in such a way that we will ever experience how you feel. We can try to have empathy for you, but yeah, we will never truly know how you feel, and we're not supposed to, you know.
Right. Well, I actually tried to come close. So
oh, did you do the little thing?
I actually tried to come close. So
Okay.
So when I looked at the research on labor pains and what women experience, it is explained as the worst pain that they will ever feel. So I started thinking about us guys. And I'm like, well, I know about the worst pain we could ever feel.
Yeah.
And that's if you took a brick and dropped it on our balls.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I was going to say, you graze our balls or hit our balls in any way, you take us out. And so that's our feeling. Whenever I hear them say that, I'm like, yeah, okay, I understand that. Well, you want to know our feeling that you're never going to know? When you get kicked in the balls, it affects your soul. And bro, when you see another man get kicked in the balls on video, I don't know if you're like me, but you go,
yeah, you
do this. It's like you feel it in your soul. I'm like, I feel that in my soul.
Because that's exactly, man. Because we know that the experience of that pain and how fierce it is.
We have that empathetic pain for the person we don't even know them, but we like, I know how that feels.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's not good at all. So that was kind of my way of trying to connect that empty space on knowing the difference in that pain for both sides. Of course, a woman probably will never know what that actually feels like, but when you explain it in that manner, maybe they're like, "Oh, yeah, that has to hurt."
or the minimum, they can go, well, at least you got one on me that I'm never going to feel neither. Like they got one on us that we're never going to feel, and we got something on y'all that y'all never going to feel. So maybe just know that have empathy for each other. Of that.
There it is. And the next one is the menstrual cycle. Of course, we're never ever going to be able to experience what they deal with that.
I never got good at riding that. Never got good at that.
So when I looked into how they describe the pain or the way that feels for a woman, they actually related to a heart attack.
Shit.
Yeah. So when I seen that, I'm like, holy cow, because I hear people who've had heart attacks say that it feels like an elephant is like on their chest, you know what I'm saying, standing or sitting on their chest, which that's got to be way out their pain. Right. So that was my example of trying to relate to how they feel in that area. And
but women need to realize it's not a man's fault that we will never know how you feel or know that pain. Sometimes you never know how that feels. That hurts like this, and you will never understand. Well, I'll go back again. We're never really supposed to understand. But,
right.
We just have to understand there's biological differences and just have empathy for your person that's going through that cycle. Yes.
Well, I mean, we will never understand how it feels, but maybe we can understand
how it makes them feel.
Thank you. Exactly. So when you look at how emotional women are and what they have to go through, especially when it comes to being pregnant, going through that 9-month spell or however long it is, and giving birth to a child, their body shifting and changing in all different ways, that's got to be emotional. You know what I'm saying?
That's some incredible Hulk stuff, man. That's some metamorphosis. Your body's like doing stuff and organs moving around and stuff. I'd be cranky too. I'd be mad too if my body was changing on that level.
And then they're swelling and all these different things are going on with their body, man. That's a bit on the extreme tip. We will never experience that, but we are there to experience that from a different perspective. Because I know when I was told by my children's mother that she was expecting, the time before, she said that I was thinking a certain way. After I got that little bit of information, I had a mind shift. Sure. You know what I'm saying?
I would hope you would. But getting back to one of the things I forgot earlier is like something that I call bro code. Like, for example, there may be an issue where I'm dealing with a service problem or something. I'm dealing with a technician, and I'll say, hey man, please, because if you could do this, because it would make my wife happy, man, or something. I would drop my wife's name essentially. And there's been a couple times where I've made the mistake of telling my wife that I dropped her name. I said, well, please, if you do this for my wife or do this for this thing because of her, that'll make my life. And she'd be, oh great, well now they feel they kind of did this for me. And I'm like, no, you don't understand the bro code. When you're dealing with another man and you tell him that I'm having a problem and this problem is affecting my relationship and it will make my wife happier, that's where we get our empathy with our co-brothers, and we go, oh, I understand being a married guy too, bro, so I'm going to help you out with this service problem. So I use it as a little extra thing, like, hey bro, help another bro out that's married and help make my wife happy. And sometimes she resents that I drop the wife name in there to kind of make something happen. But I think men relate on that, and we go, okay, I'm going to help you out, man, because I'm married too, and I feel you, and I want you to have a good time and a good relationship with your wife.
Absolutely, but don't the women do that too?
I'm not really sure. I know from my experience, the couple times I brought it up and I say, well, I told them we couldn't come because of you or what have you. She didn't appreciate me dropping the name in when really I was just trying to get some bro sympathy. Like, hey, man, I'm not really throwing her under the bus as she kind of might see it, like making things her fault. I'm trying to get the empathy from the other male involved so he understands that I'm dealing with a certain situation.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the lost connection. That's what I call that. When they're thinking it's a competition back and forth or type of
But I'm throwing her under the bus to like get an advantage, or I'm trying to use her or something, when really I'm just trying to relate and connect and emulate and say, hey man, help a fellow married guy out and make my wife happy. And it's funny because a lot of guys would be like right away, like, okay, I understand, bro. I know what you mean. When the lady's on you and wants you to get something done, here you go. I'll help you out.
Absolutely, because they need to understand first and foremost that we are not your enemy. You know what I'm saying? We're in this with you. This is a together thing, a us thing, a we thing, a support thing, a yin and yang thing. You know what I mean? So just because we operate on different levels or from different angles, just know that the way we operate is necessary for us to function together, and live that life, and just maneuver in ways that'll benefit the relationship,
right,
and all that other stuff. So
yeah, it's not about, like I said, I always got to go back to, it's not about really winning, you know. So everybody wants to try to win at the end, because even though if you're fortunate enough to have somebody that can pitch in on a cooperative lifestyle, that's good. But even when you're doing that, there's still, we're individuals. We know we come out like unhappy, like I said. So we're always looking for like to satisfy ourselves. So it's tough to be in your own lane and to be in a co-lane. And sometimes it does get blurry. And sometimes I'm so focused on this podcasting and things that I don't really see like the bigger picture and all. So sometimes I have to kind of open up my perspective as well.
Well, absolutely. I think we all do. And that's the reason for the gap. And it's just life situations that causes that gap to occur over time. You know what I mean? Because like we both could recognize, and probably everybody else is listening now or later, even as a child, you understand that gap.
Yeah, and I find as I've gotten older, there are some things where we have misunderstandings, and I sometimes I'm just, like I said, the economy of words. I'm just too impatient to explain how I feel, and I just want to barge ahead and do it. But I have found as I've slowed down a little bit and gotten older that, you know, if I just say in words exactly how I feel and my rationale about why I'm doing something in a certain way, she might actually understand it. And yeah, she will, and it has really worked really good. There's sometimes where I'll still get some of those extra questions when I'm trying to explain my rationale. But many times I go, look, the reason I acted this way, or the reason I blew up, or the reason I'm doing this is because I was thinking these thoughts. And then she goes, okay, well, now I understand your process.
Boom. So hopefully that's not a 10-minute discussion. Maybe it's a 5-minute discussion.
Exactly. Let's do 5. Let's do 5, please.
You shaved it down the middle a little bit. So we're actually moving through this pretty good. I'm getting to the point where I'm wrapping up to where I wanted to be as far as the unification part of it, to actually close that gap. So before I do that, let me go ahead and give acknowledge to the sponsors for That's Life with Evolution. JG's Lounge, Golden Diamond Productions, TGBTG, Leia's Question, and Vibe, VYV. It's a little vial that you get. You shake it up and take a sniff to it, and it alerts your senses so that you can focus a little bit better. Yeah, man. Everything's been going good.
That's good. Now, Jukebox turned us on to that Vibe. He sent it to my boy Chris. I do the video show with my friend Chris Abels.
Okay.
And he sent him one of those, and you got one of those Vibe. I see the reaction out of these guys.
Yeah.
When they get it even close, it's like,
ooh, really yeah, it's effective.
Yeah, it seems to be. Now, you remember back in the day, they used to have those little smelling salts and all the little first aid kits. That's what, and I wouldn't want to get near them. Everybody would be like, you know, doing this and all. But yeah, but I understand it's like that, but on a much higher level, and I can kind of invigorate you, can give you like more energy throughout the day.
Absolutely. And you know, if you want to support the show, Lucian 15 is how you do that. Go to that website, make that purchase, LUTION 15, and you get a little discount and help the show out a little bit. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in, watching us, and all that good stuff. Appreciate Bobby Fran for being with me today. So let's go ahead and see how we can unify this little space in between. Do you have any ideas of how that happens, or how it could happen?
No, I mean, corny as it sounds, it's all about, and we've talked about it a lot here, it's all about communication, man. It's all about getting out of your own headspace and get out of your lane, and trying to get into somebody, and that's tough for any individual because we're individuals. So just have compassion for the other person you're with, and don't take your problems out on each other. Like when we were raising our kids, there were many times where I couldn't get to the TV show or the thing I wanted to do, and she couldn't get to the next thing that she wanted to do, or whatever it was, the next thing I had to work on. And you just have to realize that that's neither one of yours fault. There's no point in going, well, it's your fault. I'm going to be angry at you because I can't get to do what I do, or I'm going to anger at you because I can't get to watch the show I want. You have to understand that you're co-parenting, you're doing it together, you're in a partnership.
Absolutely. And no matter what language is out there, whether it be an actual foreign language or the foreign language between men and women, we've all heard of this, but we tend to not think about how relevant that statement is, the universal language of love. So in those times where we have those gaps, there are times that we close that gap through intimacy or whatever, through a nice dinner, candlelight dinner, whatever, just a soft, gentle moment with your partner. In those moments, we both connect.
And that's why that works, because you're not having that competition in those moments. I think that's why those moments work, because when you're doing the life thing, you're for lack of a better way of saying it, you're competing. You're trying to, your wills are competing against each other. But when you're doing those casual things, you're not doing that competition with each other. You kind of put all that stuff to the side.
All the guards are down, and you are actually being a unified couple. But to help people know how we got there, life is so competitive. I mean, everything in life is a competition. Even what we watch is sports, for entertainment, competition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At work, there's a competition. They want you to be the best you can be, produce the most, have the biggest effect on things. Everything's a competition. I keep hearing these stories about people who are in the grocery stores or the shopping centers. When things get low, it becomes a competition. Because I want that, and it's only one left, so let's
let them get survival of the fittest stuff right there. Yeah, man.
Yeah. But everybody just needs to take a step back and regroup, rethink their process, and just realize, hey, we're all people. We work better together than we do divided.
Absolutely.
And even if there are misunderstandings or miscommunications or just totally different languages, we can still be courteous. What's the word? Courteous to each other.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, man?
Well, like I said, it's just backing out of that human nature, that we keep talking about competition. It's just pulling yourself back from these things. I think all of our human evolution has put a lot of these things into us. Like you said, it's competition. And when I was younger, my example was my father go, well, I went out and did this all day. Well, I did this all day. Well, I did this all day. Well, I did this all day. And that's where I get to the point where no one's ever going to win that. That's where you just have to understand that dad's going to have a certain kind of day and mom's going to have a certain kind of day. And that you're never going to go, well, mine was always better or worse than yours. No one ever wins in that. Just, make the best of it, what you can, have empathy for the person that they had a bad day, and carry on together.
Absolutely. And it's something you can come home and talk about and kind of decompress and enjoy things in your home. You know what I mean?
Don't take the stresses of life out on each other.
Boom. There it is. That's that gap. Man, you hit points. You hit the bullseye on everything I had on here.
Nice, man. Well, I appreciate you sending me that copy you sent me. No. You would think you said I hit you so good, so that's good, man. And like I said, once we started relating on this, this is my first time meeting with you and being on with you, and I'm like, well, this is obviously a person of the same generation, because we're kind of having similar life experiences, and we feel a certain way, and we about these things in our relationships.
Absolutely, man. So you mentioned you were married. If you don't mind, how long?
I got married in 1991. Woo. So let's do the math on that.
Woo.
Coming up on 33 years, man.
Congratulations, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, we met when we was like 18, and we got married when we was 23 or some shit.
Wow, that's impressive, man.
Finished school. Yep.
Yeah, that's not happening so regularly now today. So my hats off to you for that. Congratulations to you and your wife, man.
Yeah, thanks.
That's a beautiful thing. Hopefully, uh, we can get you back on the show for another topic, man. Everything went great today.
Yeah.
I appreciate you being my guest. You got anything you want to let us know about what you're doing before we end this?
Yeah, man. If you're ever out on the internet on the YouTube after you're watching JG's Lounge or E here, come check me out on Mondays at 12 noon Eastern on YouTube. It's called BF Live. And it's a positive show just to start off the podcast week and start off our week of life. I like, because I'm a positive guy, so there's a lot of negativity in the world. So I'm really keen on being positive because there's not enough positivity in this world. So I might not be able to change the world, but maybe a couple people at a time. I make them feel a little better. I do that every Monday, like 12 to 3. And then on Wednesdays and Fridays, I do other podcasts called Replayables, where we watch videos and we sit around and drink and smoke and laugh and watch some crazy viral videos. I do that on Wednesdays and Fridays. And I also have a sports show on Fridays. So, yeah, you're out on YouTube, see something with BF on it, come check me out.
Man, that's fabulous, man. That's wonderful. And I also want to let everybody know that my second podcast show, What's Going On, will be airing another episode probably Friday morning at the end of this week. So we're just rolling right along, man, and look for evolution on appearances here and there and everywhere because the demand is growing and things is just working out. So I appreciate all the support, all the people who are having conversations with me when they see me. Hey, I heard about that last episode. It was pretty cool. I appreciate all that, man. That keeps me going. It adds fuel to my fire and
Yes.
keeps my rockets flaring and boosting off. So thanks to everybody for tuning in today. Once again, BF Bobby Fran is with us. Thank you, sir. Appreciate everything you had to bring to the table on this episode. Made it work out. Made it work out perfectly, man. And hopefully, like I said, we can connect in the future.
Yeah.
And I'm always open to be on other shows as well. So
yeah, man, it was great meeting you today. I know we were supposed to hook up with Jukebox Ginger today, but I'm glad we got this time to get to know each other. Man, I look forward to doing it again sometime soon.
Absolutely, man. So that's life, everyone. That's all I got. If you don't have anything else, man, we'll go ahead and hit this end session button and get on out of here.
Yep. Peace and love, and everybody have a great week.
All right. Take care.